Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn. I'm Lauren Smith with the International Franchise Association, and we have a great 30 minutes lined up for you. Before we begin, I would like to let everyone know that we are recording today's webinar and will make it available later this evening on community.franchise.org. If you have any questions for today's speakers, please add them to the chat box and they will be addressed toward the end. Today's topic is balancing marketing automation with human connection and customer service, and it is brought to us by AnswerConnect. Here to provide today's discussion is Karen Booz, Franchise Director of Strategic Partnerships at AnswerConnect, John King, founder of ServiceMinder, and Matt Jones, owner of WebPunch. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to AnswerConnect for sponsoring today's Lunch and Learn. I'll go ahead and turn things over to you, Karen.
Hi, thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it. We're happy to be here today. I am with AnswerConnect, and we're proud to be a preferred vendor and supplier with the IFA. And I am here again, today with John and Matt. John Keene is the founder, and I am so sorry. John Keene is the owner and founder with ServiceMinder, and Matt is the co-founder of WebPunch. So today we'll be talking about automation and how it will help support the growth of your franchises. Maximizing opportunity starts with first capturing the opportunity, and that means being there to respond to that opportunity day or night. Many new franchise owners are not available 24 hours a day, and yet they feel that they can take care of all the opportunities. Let's face it, you can't do that all by yourself. That's why working with your vendor and supplier partners and really knowing what they can do to assist your partnership and franchise growth. When choosing a vendor, you should make sure they work together seamlessly with other vendors like the three of us. John, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with all of that wholeheartedly. But yeah, I think one of the things to look at from a workflow and automation perspective is one of the reasons why automation is here at all is because everybody kind of knows the things you should do, but when it gets right down to it, nobody ever actually does all of that. Mm-hmm. So adding automation to kind of do the things you know you should do in terms of reaching out to prospects and clients, getting that automated helps make sure that it does get done. Whereas if you're doing it waiting on manually, it's just random luck as to whether it gets done or not.
Mm-hmm. Matt, talk to us about the first steps.
Well, I think when you say maximize every opportunity, my expertise is feedback and online reviews, so like reputation management. And when I think of maximizing every opportunity, the first thing that comes to my mind is, like, in the realm that I work in, is responding to your reviews. And I think a lot of people are asking for reviews, whether manual or automated, but not many companies are actually taking the time to connect with their clients on Google, on Facebook, on Yelp. In fact, only 3% of companies respond to half or more of their reviews. So if you're responding to all of your reviews, you're maximizing those opportunities versus your competitors who statistically aren't doing that. And it's important to do for several reasons. One, according to Moz, who's like a local search expert, that's the #2 ranking factor on Google right now. So Google's rewarding companies who are engaging with their customer that way. And then I think just doing that as a brand shows you care. It shows you're a great manager, and it shows that you want to connect with those customers. And that's how you really can maximize your opportunities today in the reputation space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and definitely with new leads coming in, you want to follow up with every one of those, right? Because that's the case where somebody went to your website, filled out the form and says, hey, I would like more information. And if you don't ever reach out to them, either by placing a call right away or shooting an email message or a text message, your consumers are kind of used to kind of hitting submit and then waiting, right? And you want to capture them while they're in that moment and ready to respond. So being able to automate that cuts down that delay between when they hit submit on the form and when they're talking to somebody and hopefully signing up for service.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So John, cover some of the elements that should be automated.
So definitely, when those leads come in, right, following up with those, so that, for example, sending, a new lead with a phone number over to your preferred call center, right, so they can place an outbound call right away. Sending them a text and or an email message as soon as they sign up to try to engage them in that conversation. But then also don't just leave it there, right? Kind of set up a process that kind of follows up with them over time. because they may have just been filling out and said, well, I got your response, but they'll maybe look at it the next day or whatever. So, and then they'll forget about it, right? So just like us. And so you want to have a process to kind of stay in touch with them over time, but also not so much that they get annoyed by it. So it's definitely a balancing act. Other touch points are when you schedule appointments, or when you have service performed, right? When the work is done, that's a great time to say, hey, how about a review or fill out a survey? Right? You want to kind of automate all those touch points so that they happen automatically and not relying on somebody to hit a button.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I agree. Matt, tell us a little bit about your thoughts on this process.
Well, I guess I think in franchising, automation is especially important because, as everyone knows, some franchisees are going to be awesome about following programs or your advice to them, and others are not going to, whether they are being defiant or whether they just have their own ideas or they're busy. So I think we all can laugh because we all know that that's how it is. So I think having automation keeps a consistent effort, especially as you're getting reviews or feedback, as John was saying. You want to make sure that each location has outstanding reputation. If that's left to a manual process, some people are going to do that. They're going to look great. But remember, as a franchisor, as a franchise person, we want to protect the brand, and we want to make sure that we're showing the public consistent, great results, no matter which location they go to. So I think automation can help with that. And then I think looking at like the journey of when people need to be asked, like if you're in a kitchen remodel company, probably the time to ask them is right when you do the big reveal. So as John was saying, like timing is really important, but that can all be automated. So making sure you're getting those touch points connected at the time where the person's most likely to give you what you want is incredibly important, and automation can help with that, especially at scale.
Right.
Yeah. Also in the franchise world, you want to make sure that you can kind of aggregate and monitor those things at the brand level, right? So if you're running these programs at the location level, you want to automate as much of those as you can, so that then at the brand level, you can kind of aggregate all that data and learn from it, right? What is the average response time between when they fill out the form and they're ready to buy, come to the store, or schedule an appointment? If you have enough data rolled up at the brand level, now you have some metrics you can use to kind of compare across the board.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what not to automate, we just talked a lot about automation, and what not to automate is real connection. And many businesses today are passing customer experience to AI, which can definitely save on staff, but can lead to fewer customers, because people like to buy from people. And to find out a little bit more about how AI in customer service works, we commissioned OnePoll to conduct an independent survey gathering responses from about 6,000 customers. And there were 3 primary concerns about how AI impacted them. And one, of course, is cost. And what our study showed is that owners recognize the power of professional service, and that can be with an introductory email or a text message. But 76% of the customers said they'd be willing to pay more for a premium service or professional live support. So keep that in mind, because when you're using the automation and AI, it also needs to go hand in hand with live people. And that will also build the reputation of the company. Convenience, when speaking on chatbots, how often are people's problems actually solved? And what we found in this survey was that 76% of the customers said that their problem was never or only occasionally resolved with a chatbot. So again, remember, when speaking with potentially chatbots, follow up with an email, a personalized email, something that is tangible to the potential client. And then, of course, connection. We have a lot of things that we can do to help automate, but there will always need to be a connection, whether it's providing a quote or whether it's that initial appointment. 4 out of 5 people, according to our survey, prefer to speak to a live person by phone rather than a chatbot, or potentially email, at least in their first interaction. After that, they're more than willing and able and actually want to communicate via any active response or any AI option. But they need to trust the people. So humans are unpredictable, and that means they can be unreliable. So working hand in hand with the automation is always a better bet for you. So Matt, tell us about once the interaction has been completed and the job has been signed and the review process comes in, and how you help support our franchise businesses in that area.
Yeah, so I think with automation, getting feedback can be automated. Asking for a review can be automated. That's awesome. Following up with that review response, that connection, there's a lot of people, and I was on an IFA seminar, I think it was the one right before the pandemic, and someone raised their hand and said, we respond to our reviews. We have this template. It works really great. The problem that I see with templates is it allows you to do it faster. So that's helpful if you're doing it at scale. But to me, it kind of misses the point of really, that's an opportunity to connect with someone. And I think it should be a person. I think it should be organic. I know that's really hard if you have a lot of reviews coming in. If that's a problem for you, you should probably hire someone, outsource it. We do that, or other companies do that. If not, I think try to be as personal as you can. I know that's also difficult if the person responding doesn't know the client. They've never interacted with them. I think one of the things that we do that you could do is we work with ServiceMinder. And so we'll go into the CRM and we'll look at that customer as we're responding. So we'll look at who serviced them, what work they had done, when it was done. It kind of helps us try to be personal, even though we respond to thousands of reviews a month and we don't have a personal relationship with those clients. So I think trying to do it at scale is really challenging. I think it has to be something that's human. It has to be organic. No one wants to be responded to in a very rigid, inorganic way. So I think that part really makes sense. But I agree that it can be difficult to personalize it. And that's why I think having some CRM like ServiceMinder is really helpful.
Yeah. John, anything you'd like to add to that?
I think automation is great for kind of doing the more mechanical parts of the conversations, right? So trying to drive them to a point of where they engage or respond. But then once they do, that quote unquote fish on metric, right? Once they get into that kind of fish on state, switch to whatever their preferred communication method is, right? Is that a phone call? Maybe it's a Zoom call, maybe it's by text, right? And manage all those with, like Matt was saying, one-to-one personal interactions to kind of create that relationship with the prospect. Because humans are very good at detecting when it's not a human, and so you want to kind of just use the automation as kind of a prodding mechanism that can keep them moving along in the process, but as soon as they engage, that's when it's time to get a human and connect direct.
I agree with you. And what I heard you say is that marketing automation and real people can work together, especially in the customer service arena. So real human care can't be replaced. However, marketing automation can help you find and improve your workflow and increase your time and productivity, as well as reviews, which will bring in more business. And this found time can be used to have more face-to-face interactions with your client. It's about knowing where the line is and what that process is, customer adjacent. Taking the time to have an unscalable conversation, like a personal message or a handwritten note or a personal handcrafted response by Web Punch, really creates a meaningful moment. John, tell us a little bit about how ServiceMinder can work in with that.
Yeah, automation should be complementary. It's not the end goal, right? So for example, in kind of that new lead pipeline, right, you can create, kind of a sequence of messages that stays in front of the customer. And then as soon as they talk to human and book an appointment, you can then stop that automated conversation, right? The last thing you want to do to show your client that you're paying attention to them is as soon as they book the appointment, they get an email 3 minutes later that says, hey, why don't you book an appointment with us? We'd love to, work with you, right? So automation is a great way to kind of solve those problems, but still enables the humans that are involved in the process to be more efficient because they don't have to do kind of some of the more manual work, right? So never go into a project and say, we're going to automate everything because that's shouldn't be your end goal. The end goal should be to kind of optimize the amount of client focused time that you can have to work with the prospects and the customers. So you want to automate whatever you can to kind of get to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we have another slide here that is going to take us into Matt's and WebPunch's expertise. So Matt, give us some ideas on this.
So I got a few ideas, kind of going back to what John was just saying. I think hopefully you have automation as it pertains to reviews. Hopefully there's a system set up that will ask people for reviews at the ideal time. However, like if you have someone who's face to face with that customer, and let's go back to the kitchen example, you unveiled the kitchen, everyone's singing Kumbaya, they want to name their kids after you. There's like a real energy and love there. That's the exact moment you want to ask for the review. And automation sometimes isn't going to capture it right then. Even if the trigger in the CRM is the day completed, that might not hit them until that night. And that can be too late. So hopefully there's a system that you're using that allows for like automation. But if there's a chance to be in front of that customer and feel the love, you want to hopefully have something that can trigger it manually so that, and it'll supersede it. So as John said, they don't get bombarded multiple times with a review request, but having like flexibility there, I think is really important. And then I think, yeah, positive experiences generate positive reviews, but sometimes it's easier than others. And as we were talking about this, like the hospitality vertical gets a ton of views organically. If you're in hotels, entertainment, food, people, it's sexy to kind of like write a review about the lobster risotto. But if you have some guy coming to fix your toilet and he does an okay job, like everything was fine, it's maybe less sexy, maybe like, unless it was an outlier experience where they did something awful or they like did something well above and beyond. If it's just like a really good, solid, that's a little bit trickier to get reviews for like home services. So I would say there needs to be like a system to kind of nudge those customers who had a really good experience. It just wasn't like crazy superlative to get reviews. And I think that's really important. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about this.
Yeah, I think there's definitely kind of some human training component of that as well too, right? So even if you got it, so it's automated, right? So hey, here's your invoice, here's your receipt, and oh, by the way, please leave us a review, right? Train the staff that's there dealing with the clients, and hey, you're going to get an email or a text message in a few minutes that's going to say, please leave us a review. If there's anything that I could do to make, to prevent you from giving us a 5-star review, please let me know so that I can address it before I leave. Right, those kind of things can go a long way towards kind of engaging that customer, into either addressing problems before they become public, right, in a review platform, or more encouraged to leave a positive review because they had a good experience.
That's a really good point, and I think it behooves the brand in general to create some sort of training. Hopefully, they'll have a program that will be getting reviews and everything. But in addition to, I think John, what you were saying, like having best practices and training the brand, everyone on how to get reviews is really important because timing is incredibly vital to that effort.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's all part of offering a human-centric service, and that really starts with the best possible customer service from the beginning all the way through the end, and then the reviews always come back positive.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up what we wanted to explain or at least share today. Are there any questions? Lauren, can you?
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box. If anybody has any questions, please add them to the chat box now.
While we all watch you type in.
And one last thing, when you're working with a brand new franchise, an emerging franchise, brand new franchisees, if you take time when you are vetting your vendors to ask, who are you working with? A lot of times that can be a great first experience for your potential client because they are working with their CRM partners or their relationship tool partners, and that can make a great experience happen more than not. And everything from answering the phones to entering information into a CRM to following up with reviews, all part of the process for your franchisee, and they can't do everything.
Yeah, I think also too, especially kind of in the vein of the emerging franchisor concept, right? Those are typically you're going to convert from a single independently owned business idea into something that's a part of a franchise, and whatever tools you were using before are probably not franchise centric, right? So as a part of rolling out and switching to a franchise system, start thinking early about, using suppliers and providers that understand franchising just like you do, because it's going to be a whole lot easier to get that all set up when you've got one location ready to roll out than when you've got 50.
Exactly.
Right. I see that a lot, what John was saying, where they started off with one system and as they grew, it didn't work for franchising. And so, halfway down the road of they had to switch everything out. And it's a big investment to like switch that out after they've already kind of gone in there. So I think that's a really important point.
Lauren, do we have any questions before we thank everybody and wrap this up?
Not seeing any that have come through the chats.
That's just how thorough we are.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karen, John, and Matt. This was excellent content. We really do appreciate it. Again, this webinar was recorded and along with the presentation deck will appear on our website early this evening. You'll be able to find that at community.franchise.org. Thank you very much again to Karen, John, Matt, and the Answer Connect team. And again, thank you to everyone for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day and stay safe and healthy. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Thanks, guys.